So what is the milk ladder? The milk ladder is a step-by-step approach for you to add dairy products back into your child's diet. Some parents do not know about the milk ladder, so they may have given their child some yogurt and then their child reacted. That's why we have the milk ladder. And as you will see, I will list everything below this video. There is a 6-step milk ladder and a 12-step milk ladder. Your dietitian or your doctor will have advised you which one to follow. Now, here at Nishti's Choice, we have done our own version of the milk ladder. But as you'll be able to see, if you look at both of them, is that the principle of the milk ladder is we start out with cooked milk products first in a matrix. So, for example, step number 1 is a biscuit or a cookie with milk in. And the reason for that is because when you cook dairy or cook cow's milk, you change the protein and therefore you make it easier to digest. And a biscuit will have tiny amounts of cow's milk protein in. Now, there are recipes that go with step 1 of the milk ladder. And I have done videos where I show you how to make these recipes for your baby for step 1 of the milk ladder. And I will list that somewhere either below or try and link it here. So it's a systematic approach to adding dairy back into your child's diet. And the reason why it's such a great way to introduce dairy back into the diet is that you will be able to see where they react, and therefore you will know what is their tolerance level. For example, step 1 of the milk ladder, if your baby reacts to a quarter of a biscuit, depending on what your dietitian has advised you to give, then that shows us that, this child is very, very sensitive to dairy still. So let's just wait a bit longer and try again. For some children, we advise to have a larger amount of biscuit. For some, it's a tiny amount, but it's all depends on what your dietitian advises you to do. So the milk ladder is a step-by-step guide to reintroducing dairy back into your child's diet, either through a 6-step approach or a 12-step approach. Either way, it doesn't matter which one you use. As you can see from both the ladders, it's small amount of cooked milk products, and then you move up and it gets larger in quantity and fresher in nature. Now, who is the milk ladder for? The milk ladder is not for anyone. It is only for children with a diagnosed non-IgE cow's milk protein allergy. And I have done a video where I explain what is non-IgE and what is IgE. Basically, most children have non-IgE cow's milk protein allergy, and that's the delayed type of allergy. Reflux, vomiting, eczema, colic, diarrhea, constipation. Symptoms that probably were mistaken for not being cow's milk protein allergy. Maybe you were told that, that's normal, or your baby just has colic, but it turned out it was an allergy to cow's milk. The milk ladder is only for these children that have non-IgE cow's milk protein allergy. So if your baby reacted immediately to dairy products, so they had an instant rash, instant vomiting, and they may even needed to go to the hospital, then this approach is not for them. So when do we start the milk ladder? A lot of parents accidentally give their child some dairy products, and then they know, my child reacted or my child didn't react. And that's perfectly fine. If you did that and your child has non-IgE cow's milk protein allergy and you accidentally gave them something with dairy in, you may already know, what's happened, and are they actually ready to start the milk ladder? But either way, what we advise is that a child starts the milk ladder, or a baby starts the milk ladder, when they are above the age of 9 months and when they have been dairy-free for 6 months. So if your baby has been dairy-free for 6 months and they are 10 months of age, and if your dietitian or your doctor has given you the green light, then you can start the milk ladder. Now, a lot of parents, as I said to start with, have accidentally given them their child dairy even earlier than 9 months and nothing happened. If that's you, then that's okay. There's no, there's no right or wrong. But generally we do advise to just wait a bit and then start the milk ladder when they are above the age of 9 months old. So how much do you give at each stage of the milk ladder? And for how long do you stay at stage 1 and 2 and 3 and 4? Well, this is all very variable. It really depends on the child, their previous symptoms, their current symptoms, whether they have multiple allergies, whether they have eczema. So this is where you need to work with a professional who will advise you what to do. If you are from another country and perhaps you don't use the milk ladder in your country, you could show them this video and all the links that I have listed below, and you can ask your doctor or your dietitian for some advice. But here in the UK, the question of how much and for how long do I stay at each stage is very, very variable because every baby is different. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question, but I can tell you, I can give you an example of when I am extra cautious. That is, if a child has eczema and multiple food allergies, then I wouldn't advise them to give them a whole biscuit for stage 1. I would advise start with a quarter. But you see, it really depends on your baby, if they have multiple allergies, eczema, there's so many things to consider. So make sure you work with a healthcare professional. So what reaction are we looking for? Well, I have done a separate video on this and I will try and link that somewhere, either below or here. Now, I just want to say about that, the reaction you're looking for could be anything. And that's why you need to make sure you have time to observe your child's symptoms and keep a food and symptom diary, write things down, and work with a healthcare professional. Because the symptoms that they initially had, it may not be the same symptoms. So if your baby struggled with diarrhea, it doesn't mean that they will have diarrhea again. It could be something completely different. They could get bloated. They could be constipated. They could develop a rash. Maybe their eczema is flaring up. Maybe they're not sleeping well because they're unsettled. So there are lots of factors to consider, and it can be difficult because as well as looking for a reaction, it's also making sure before you start the milk ladder that your baby is well. And babies go through a lot. They're teething, they catch lots of coughs and colds. So all these things can skew the results. And that's why we need to make sure that when you start your baby on the milk ladder, that they are as well as possible, because that would make the results clearer to you. So what happens if your baby has a reaction? What do? You do not, first of all, completely stop the milk ladder unless your baby reacted to step 1 of the milk ladder. Let's say they had a quarter of the biscuit and they reacted. Well, then it's very hard to continue. But if they had biscuits and then they had maybe some cooked cheese in with their meal, or some cooked milk in with their meal, and they were fine. But as soon as they got to yogurt, they reacted. Then you allow them to just get better, give it a week, maximum 2 weeks, then you go back on the milk ladder and you introduce the foods that they were already able to tolerate, you see. Because you do not completely have to stop it, and it's actually very beneficial for the immune system to be exposed to the allergen, which is dairy in this instance. So some parents think that they have to completely stop the milk ladder. No, you do not need to do that, and it's actually a lot easier for you to move up as you go if you were to continue with the foods they were already able to tolerate. So I hope that's helpful. So if you are breastfeeding your baby and it's time to start the milk ladder, you might be tempted to do it through your own breast milk first. And we have a lot of mothers who do that. The problem with that is it is extremely hard to know how much protein has passed through your breast milk and into your baby. And it can take a long time to finish the milk ladder. So what we do and what we advise is that the milk ladder should be started directly in the baby. So you give the food directly to your baby. And it may cause you great anxiety and stress because you've been through so much already. But if you give it directly to your baby, you have a definite answer. You know for sure a whole biscuit is not what they can tolerate, but they can tolerate half a biscuit. And then it brings you just peace of mind and you'll be able to move forward from that. So if you're breastfeeding your baby and you want to start the milk ladder, if you want to do it through yourself, through breast milk, then you can do it, but it's just going to be a little bit more difficult to know exactly what is going on. So your doctor or your dietitian will advise you, but we generally advise, and that's as per guidelines, best practice is to start the milk ladder directly to your baby. For step 1 of the milk ladder, you can either make your own biscuits or you can buy your own biscuits or equivalents. And I have done a video on that, which I will list below. There is no right or wrong. You could either make your own or you can buy your own as well. The benefit of making your own is that you'll know exactly how much milk protein they've had because it's measured. So that's the benefit. But I have done a video because a lot of parents just want to use the alternatives, and that, remember, there is no right or wrong. So that video with the alternatives for step number 2 of the milk ladder is listed below this video. That was it for the milk ladder. Very simple guide. I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, please let me know in the comments below. And if you have any questions, we always do our best to answer questions. Obviously, none of this is medical advice. You always need to seek the advice of your own dietitian and your own doctor. I'll see you all in the next video.